When I was 12 years old, I first heard the terrifying stories of the abominable snowman, Yeti, and Sasquatch. It all started back in 1961, when I was just a young Boy Scout, reading a Boy's Life magazine about a British expedition in the 1920s that ventured into the Himalayas. They spoke of a massive, hairy creature lurking in the mountains, something that gave even the bravest explorers chills. To a 12-year-old, this was the stuff of nightmares. Fast forward to 1965, I'm living in Arlington, Washington, and the loggers in the Cascade Mountains were telling stories about Bigfoot. They described him as towering over 8 feet tall, with long gray hair covering his entire body. It was the same description I'd read about in that magazine years earlier, and it scared me to my core. By the time I was in high school, I was working in the woods. Loggers, farmers, and locals all shared stories of Sasquatch sightings. One story from a hiking trip near Glacier Peak really stuck with me. A guy swore he saw a giant hairy creature stand up on 2 legs, look right at him and point. He ran back to camp so shaken up that he and his friends stayed up all night, rifles in hand, guarding against whatever they had seen. The locals chalked it up to too much weed, but he was convinced it was Bigfoot. Years later, I worked as a logger myself. One summer, when the woods were dry and fire season hit, I volunteered for fire watch. One day, I decided to find a nearby lake to fish. As I walked deeper into the thick forest, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I felt something following me. I couldn't see it, but I heard branches breaking and rustling. It could have been a bear, but I wasn't sure. I climbed up an old dead tree to get a better view, and that's when I saw it. A shadow, tall enough to clear the brush, moving into a ravine. Bigfoot, I didn't know, but it sure looked like it. Decades later, as a scoutmaster, I gathered my troop around a campfire, ready to tell them a ghost story. As I recounted my own Bigfoot encounters, I noticed the fear creeping into their eyes. One boy even started rocking back and forth in fear. I realized I'd scared them too much. So, I quickly switched gears, changing the dark tale to one of sunlight, birds, and butterflies to calm them down. But I never finished that story, until now.